You turn my mourning into dancing. Your love changes everything. There's something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes every. You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love, something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing.
Good morning, Rooted Men, and happy Wednesday morning. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries, and getting it done here from the house. Built up a little office here in the living room, and just trying to get a number of things done before we work our way to Firmly Rooted Greendale. Got a wedding on Saturday, Reformation service on Sunday. Some big stuff, and so please, even though I'm going down to Greendale, please go to worship on Sunday. It's Reformation Sunday. Big message about what we believe as Christians and why we have a Lutheran background and what does that Lutheran background mean. So just encouraging everyone, spread the word. If you're an elder on board, spread the word. It's Reformation Sunday. We're finishing the Reversing the Curse. Let's take a look at it and hit it hard. All right. Well, let's see who's on board. Obviously, I'm on board. Good morning, Rooted Men. Chuck B. Good morning from Rooted Men. Blessings to you all. Chris Connolly, I can't agree more. Good morning. Welcome back. Summer for a couple days. Yes. Went on a bike, rode the motorcycle yesterday. Had the privilege of riding with Dave Gerber. And because of his heart attack, yesterday was actually the first day he went riding, and I got to do it with him. So it was a really special late afternoon, early evening. Bert Reggiani, good morning. Steve Giroux, good morning. And great job yesterday. Loved how you dealt with all the honey. It looks like I've got some honey in my reading as well. All right, so let's look at Proverbs chapter 25. And we're looking at verses 23 through the end of the chapter. Verse 23. Like a north wind that brings unexpected rain is a sly tongue which provokes a horrific look. The north wind, the northeaster, the storms that come from the northeast that seem to wreak havoc on the East Coast, the Great Lakes. It always seems like when that storm comes from the northeast, it's something you watch out for. So using that type of an analogy, the writer of the Proverbs says, just like that north storm, the storm that comes from the north is unexpected. Boy, oh boy, when someone minces words and plays word games and that sly tongue that seems to say a truth, but at the end it's a twisted deception, it provokes a horrific look for the one who catches it, for the one who gets harmed by it. Better to live on a corner of the roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife or a quarrelsome child. Or, right, the relationships of family are supposed to reflect the relationship of the triune God. The relationship of the family is supposed to be an expression of unconditional love. That the body of the family loves God with their whole heart, whole mind, whole soul, all their strength. And the body of the family, the members of the family, love each other more than they love themselves. And when we can instill that godlike created love into a family, we can avoid the quarrelsomeness that seems to arise, the battle of wills that seems to arise, the I'm right, you're wrong conclusions. Would love to see in the church as well as in our families language like we, not you, me, I, you never, I always. We have to eliminate these words from our language. We are one flesh, especially with our significant others, our spouses. And so realizing what Paul says, that we need to treat that other individual as we would ourselves, because in a sense, we are. God sees us treating that individual the way that we want to be treated or not. And the or not is unacceptable. Satan wants to divide a house. The Holy Spirit wants to unite a house. So great reflection time is, how's your house? We've been encouraging the men on Thursdays to rise up to be kingdom men, to be spiritual leaders in their house. And the spiritual leader doesn't mean that you understand theology the most, or you have the greatest knowledge of Bible verses. It's that you love God with your whole heart, mind, soul, strength. You love your neighbors, yourself, you love your family, and you instill a God-like love within the family, an expectation that this is how we love one another, this is how we treat one another, this is how we are. Like cold water to a weary soul is good news from a distant land. Good news. Good news is always good. It's why the gospel is called good news. Evangelion. That a messenger comes to us and says, everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. And when that is outside of the kingdom of this world, and it means the God of the universe moved heaven and earth on our behalf, then you know it's going to be good, because all good and perfect gifts come from above. Like a muddied spring or a polluted well. Muddied spring. Don't want one of those. Polluted well. Certainly do not want one of those. Throughout Israel, the idea of drilling for wells, drilling for water so that one can survive and animals could be provided drink. To have them muddied up and to have them polluted makes them unusable. So like a muddied spring or a polluted well are the righteous who give way to the wicked. How might that happen? It doesn't say the righteous become wicked. It says they give way to the wicked. I think the American church and the American Christian has been told so often to keep your little faith to yourself, that we've turned our eyes away from the things we know we ought to be speaking out about. Rather than defend the widows and orphans, rather than defend the unborn, rather than deal with things that are being taught to our children at the youngest of ages, we turn away. We don't want to get caught up in it. We give way to the wicked. We let the wicked have their way. Where is the church rising up to say no? It's going to do damage. It's going to do damage to our society. It's going to do damage to the home. It's going to do damage to everything. Like a polluted well are the righteous who give way to the wicked. We're allowing the pollution to happen because we're not saying anything or doing anything. So not just within maybe firmly rooted, but within the American church in general, there's a spirit of apathy. I'm not going to get involved, and I don't think I should get involved, and let somebody else do it. Or it's inevitable. It's not going to matter anyways. So we just give way to the wicked. What we will do is pollute everything. Doesn't it feel a bit like our whole society is polluted, lost, muddied up, can't see clearly? Maybe the Proverbs of Solomon are wiser than we think. What might we be doing to clarify some things, speaking the truth in love to our families, to our spouses, maybe even to our communities, about what's best? What's best for everyone, and what will bring about the lack of pollution, the lack of muddiness? What will be like the cool water and the good news that is going to settle hearts and make peace? We want to avoid those northern storms that are going to come and wipe out everything. All right. I think that's it. No, I didn't do the last verse. Sorry about that. It is not good to eat too much honey, nor is it honorable to search out matters that are too deep. It is not good to eat too much honey. Steve Drew is exactly right yesterday. You can put anything there. God has created a lot of good things, but too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. We can eat too much, we can drink too much, we can take anything. Satan can cause us to take anything good that God created, and we can make it an evil by the way we abuse it. Nor is it honorable to search out matters that are too deep. I'll give you one. That we need to figure out God, who lives in no dimensions. He lives in an eternal dimension, and as soon as we say that, we don't even know what that means. We live in a three-dimensional world. Most of the time we're watching television, looking at a screen that is two-dimensional. God is not confined to dimensions. It is not honorable to search out matters that are too deep. There are things that are not for us to ponder. There's this moment when we believe, even if our reasoning seems to say another thing. Why? Because we're the ones corrupt. How do we know our reasoning is right or correct? We're the sinful individuals that won't be rid of that sinfulness until we enter into heaven. And then the last verse. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. City builds a wall to protect it, and then all of a sudden allows that wall to be deteriorated, allows that wall to be penetrated and broken into. That is like a person who lacks self-control. A person who can't catch up with right and wrong because they can't control themselves. They live spontaneously. They react too fast. They speak too fast. They don't listen. They don't check their spirit. They don't check their two natures or the two kingdoms. They lack self-control. And so they just blurt out and act out and act out. And before you know it, Satan has peppered holes into our very being because we failed to have the control to put on the full armor of God. We allowed ourselves to get obliterated by the enemy, maybe even affected by the enemy. Hence why deliverance might be something that's necessary. Self-control. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. All right. I think that's it. I think we're going to be doing the devotions from the house tomorrow and then leaving. I'm going to talk to Kimberly about that. If we're going to be leaving earlier, I may have to reach out, Steve, to you or Matt Ryan and Aaron, and see if a devotion or two can be picked up tomorrow. But other than that, gentlemen, blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.